Hello. Welcome to episode 4 of Power of Power BI series presented to you by the Visual Appeal. Well, what can I say? Relationships can be tricky, be it real life or Microsoft Power BI, right? Jokes aside, most often we are presented with multiple data sets which are in some way related to one another. And it becomes necessary for us to integrate these data sets and analyze them holistically. So that's exactly what we are going to do in this episode.
For the purposes of this episode, we have uploaded both our datasets, the Coffee Connections dataset and Count Your Calories dataset. You know how to do it. You can go to Get Data and import data from a wide range of sources. If you want to learn more, do watch episode 3 on visualizations. I have explained in detail how to import data from various sources. All right, moving on to relationships. Let's analyze the column headers in the data sets. When we go through the column headers, you will realize that beverage ID is a common column header in both the data sets. It's important to have a common column header for us to create relationship between data sets. Let's go to the model view right here. And you will see that Power BI has automatically created a relationship between these two data sets using beverage ID. In this case, it's a many to one relationship. I'm going to edit this relationship by double clicking on the star here. This is the edit relationship dialog box. And what I want to do is ensure that I am able to filter in both directions. That is from coffee connections to count your calories and from count your calories to coffee connections as well. I would want to be able to work both ways. So I'm selecting both in the direction of cross filter and hitting OK. All right, let's go back to the data and analyze it a bit. I am on the Coffee Connections data set, and as I proceed to the right, I see that there is beverage ID column, there is a beverage name column, but I do not have a beverage category column. Imagine this situation in Excel. We will immediately use a VLOOKUP function, right? We are going to do something very similar in Microsoft Power BI, and it's called the equals related function. Let's see how to do that. Let's add a new column, and let's call this column beverage category. And I'm going to say equals related beverage category and hit enter. A beverage category column is created and data is imported from Count Your Calories dataset. Now that we've added beverage category as a calculated column in Coffee Connections dataset, let's add one more column before we proceed to visualize these relationships. We will repeat the steps by selecting new column. This time, let's add average calories column from Count Your Calories dataset. We will use equals related function and start typing the column header name, which is average calories. You will see that Microsoft Power BI prompts for the average calories header from Count Your Calories dataset. I'm going to select that with my mouse pointer and hit enter. Average calories column is now created. You will realize that using an equals related function in Power BI is so much more simpler than using a VLOOKUP in Microsoft Excel because it's just creating a relationship and using equals related function with that column name. Let's go ahead and visualize these relationships and let's bring in parameters from both our data sets to analyze our data holistically. Let's select line and clustered column chart and let's start adding parameters to it. Let's analyze age category and average calories consumed. So let's keep it at sum of average calories. And let's probably add data labels to analyze it better. I'm going to format your visual segment and switching on data labels. Let me also increase the size of the value so that you can see it a bit better and bigger. All right. Let's add a few more visuals before we analyze them. Let's insert a slicer with mode of visit. Let's resize the slicer. Let's also add a scatter plot to see the relationship between protein and calories. All right. Let's add one final visualization in the form of a donut chart. Here, let's analyze the protein consumption by gender. Creating relationships help us analyze data better by selecting parameters across data sets. In the column chart here, you will notice that age category is selected from Coffee Connections dataset and average calories are sourced from Count Your Calories dataset. We can probably add average of protein as line here. I switch it to sum. We can infer that people in the age category 20 to 29 years consume maximum number of calories and people above 40 consume the least, which sort of makes sense and is logical. Moving on to the donut chart, it represents gender-wise protein consumption and it shows that males represented by the light blue color consume a tad bit more protein than the females. If you want to filter the entire dashboard to analyze based on gender, you can do that by clicking on either the light blue or the dark blue section of the donut, depending on whether you want to analyze by male or female category. So if you want to analyze by male, you click on the light blue portion of the donut chart. All the visualizations on this dashboard, they get filtered for male. Again, the parameters in this donut chart is from both the data set. The gender comes from Coffee Connections data set and the average protein comes from Count Your Calories data set. To unfilter, you can just hit on the blank space. We know how to use a slicer if you want to analyze the data through mode of visit, say dine in, drive through, or takeaway, you can use slicer. And you can also see the relationship between protein and calories using the scatter plot here.
I hope you found that useful. Now, off to episode 5 on AI features. Happy learning and see you in the next video.